𝗟𝗶𝗺 here. For those who are returning, welcome back to another video on my channel. And for those who are new here, welcome. So good news, feeling a lot better than my last video. Still recovering from the sickness, but I have a lot more energy now. And um while recovering, I noticed videos popping up on my feed talking about the new Hexed trailer that Disney has put out. And from watching those videos, it seems like there was news of this trailer like quite some time ago. I just haven't been paying attention to Disney that much. So I wasn't really aware that there was going to be another movie coming out. I've just been kind of ignoring Disney because of the movies that they've been putting out. They just, at least aside from, Encanto and then Moana and Coco and stuff like that, like a lot of their other movies just seemed, well, they never really seemed intriguing enough to me. Like I never really saw like a reason to like watch the other movies, especially the live action movies. Like they keep fucking up the live action movies, especially with the Lilo and Stitch one. Like that was a huge disappointment and like a huge disrespect to the original movie and Hawaiian culture in general. So I've just been ignoring Disney for the most part because they kept fucking up and just making bad decisions. So I was just, ignoring them. And I originally was just going to like when I saw that uh reviews for like the trailer came out, like I'm not gonna lie, they got me.
Jingle, jingle, pay attention, pay attention. I said your favorite word.
Like as soon as I saw like the title, I was like, huh? They're making a movie about witches? I'm like, huh? So yeah, they got me. I was interested, and so I watched the reviews first, and it wasn't until later that I watched the trailer to like see it for myself and also to get screenshots for stuff that I'm going to talk about later in this video. But the first review that I watched was from the Unicorn of Wars video, um, talking about their opinions on the movie, and they pretty much, just doesn't really like it. Um, they pretty much said that it's like a bargain bin Owl House, and that it just feels generic and everything like that. And I watched their video, and I really like their video. Like I like their content and the commentary. I think they really do say a lot of points when they're giving commentary on certain media and stuff like that. So like I enjoyed the video and stuff like that. And so after watching that video, I also noticed another video about the trailer, and it was by a channel called 𝗧𝗏𝗄𝗃𝗃𝗃. And I have a few issues with what was said in the video. So I'm going to be, reacting to some of the points that a lot of people are saying in regards to this trailer and everything, because it is something that I'm interested in. Like Disney caught me with like the witchy stuff. Like as y'all know, I love magical witchy stuff, and I'm also a witch. So I'm gonna be gravitated toward that stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to, obligatory, please don't attack, harass anybody that's mentioned in this video. I also want to heavily stress that a lot of people have like different opinions on this trailer and their feelings on it, and I just want to encourage people to not be rude and about other people's feelings, because some people's feelings about the trailer are valid, and just calling them and just whining, complaining that they're whining and complaining without actually listening to why they're upset or why they have the opinions that they have is just really not okay. Like just please be respectful of like everybody's thought processes around the whole thing. So yeah, I think I'll just get straight on into the video. What the Unicorn of War said about like their a commentary and their opinions of the trailer is that it feels generic, and especially about Billy, like the main character presented in the trailer. It just feels like they said that feels like this is like a boomer's interpretation of what like an alternative person would be. And while I wouldn't really, I'm not saying that I'm disagreeing. I'm just worried about it becoming a reality when the movie comes out. And I will give my reasons as to why later, but when I talk about certain elements about the trailer that I noticed. So just put a pin in that for now. I'm not really going to go into depth in um the Unicorn of Wars video. I'll link it in the description below, and I would encourage that you guys watch it and hear their opinion on the trailer. But essentially that's what the opinion is that they gave, that it just feels generic, it just feels, copy pasted. It just feels like they're taking so many like certain elements from the Owl House that, and that's like a lot of the sentiment that the Owl House fans have been having. And I'll admit, I haven't actually watched The Owl House. No, don't get mad at me. It's my excuse is ADHD. Like, I have a lot of shows in my backlog that I need to sit down and watch, and I haven't exactly had the energy to just sit down, park my ass on a chair on my bed, and just watch a lot of the shows that I said I was gonna watch. It's in my backlog. Like, I'll get to watching the shows that I need to watch, eventually. But like, I haven't seen the original show. I want to see the original show. So yeah, I don't have Disney Plus or anything like that, and I don't have cable, and I don't want to subscribe to Disney Plus. Like, I think the subscription services like Netflix, Disney Plus, all that stuff. I just think it's just a waste of money and a waste of time. So I don't have like these streaming subscription services. So if anything, I'll probably try and find a way to watch the show through other means. So yeah, I haven't watched the show. I want to watch the show. I just haven't, sit my ass down to just watch the show. So yeah, that's at least all that I had to say on the Unicorn of Wars video. But then this video by Smarty Pants gives their opinion on the film, and some of the criticisms that they gave I have a bit of a problem with. So I'm gonna go through like some of the main points, because there's mainly like 2 points in that video that I wanted to discuss and like talk about, because I feel like, some of it is a bit disingenuous. So I'll just go ahead and show you the clips that I wanted to bring up.
Dive into the teaser and see what we can find. The teaser begins with Billy walking into her school, and she clearly looks different to everybody else. Her hair's different, her style's different, and she doesn't fit in. People are smirking and gossiping about her in the halls, talking about how she doesn't belong here. Her own narration confirms this fact to the audience at the same time. It's a fairly stock standard start in my opinion, and yet this is something that people for some reason have taken extreme umbrage in. I've seen so many comments ranting about how Disney needs to let go of the adorkable girl stereotype, or the not like other girls vibe, and how it's cliche and played out, but I just don't get the issue. People have always been drawn to outsiders in film. Characters that don't fit the mold of what's desired for the world they live in, and thus struggle to find their feet. This is something you see so much of so often because, like I said, people have always been drawn to these sorts of characters, either because they're interesting or because you can more easily sympathize with somebody who struggles. Take Spider-Man, a bullied dork turned superhero who, despite being a truly good person, is constantly slandered by the media and made out to be something he's not. Captain America, a little weakling with a big heart before he gets super serious serum and become something more. Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon is not like other Vikings. Po from Kung Fu Panda is not like other Kung Fu practitioners. They're both presented as outsiders to their society, and they face social ostracization before they find their place and prove themselves worthy. Hell, what about Harry Potter? The bullied boy who discovered he was a wizard and despite his fame, still ends up being bullied and slandered numerous times throughout the story. All of these characters showcase that iconic and popular characters are often outcasts in some way because it gives them a journey for their character arc whilst giving you catharsis when they finally overcome the obstacle. I don't really see what there is to complain about in that respect. Shrek's another one that's really topical, really. A lot of these characters also actively choose to shun the norm and do their own thing despite it not making them popular, and it is usually very, very compelling. But then again, the vast majority of the characters I mentioned are male, and I do feel like there's a double standard that comes into play here. Quirky male characters that break molds and are different to the norm, interesting and dynamic. Quirky female characters that break molds and are different to the norm, annoying and overplayed. However, if they make her the coolest kid in school who wears normal, not out of the ordinary clothes and has no issues at home, and then manifests her powers, I have to ask you, what about that story is going to draw people in? Virtues need to be offset for a compelling character with narrative depth, and so for a kids film, which is what Hexed is at the end of the day, it is far easier to make her relatable with issues that a lot of younger viewers are going to encounter in their lives. Not fitting in with their peer group, struggles with parents, issues at school. Are people seriously only just realizing this sort of thing is the bread and butter of so many franchises that deal with protagonists of this age? Another complaint I've seen a lot of that really fits into this opening segment is that people are also up in arms about how Disney's in-house style now.
So essentially what they're saying is that they don't really understand why people are complaining about the adorkable outcast, a character type, like archetype type, like being overdone. And they like, while watching that clip, I just feel like they just don't really understand what the problem, like they said they don't understand the problem is, and they're just writing it off as just people complaining, but people are seeing an issue with some of the movies that feature the female heroines. Like I've noticed it, right? I've noticed it. And another YouTuber that I will show later also mentions the samey aspect of, like, you know, the characters, right? So, you know, like I've also like I managed to see like this comment, right? So it was this comment, and they said, "Thank you for so much for calling out the double standard in response to the adorkable versus male and female characters. I've been calling out that out since Modern Girls came out with her video complaining about the adorkable Disney heroines back in 2023. And at the same time, any female characters who has flaws, like being stubborn or insensitive, gets ripped apart. Like there's no winning to no matter what. Also seems like borderline ableist, which I don't exactly agree with, because of the traits people label adorkable are traits a lot of neurodivergent girls and women have." And I did watch the original video by Modern Girls, and I also watched like a critique of like the video. It's not this one, it's this one. And with this critique of the original video by Modern Girls, they essentially say that Modern Girls don't exactly understand the difference between the personality traits of these characters and quirky humor and slapstick humor. And essentially what this person said that the argument should have been Disney has like a humor problem. And it's having a humor problem, that pretty much says that, you know, there's bad writing in that. And after this person, you know, lays out the arguments, and especially with what because actually I'll just show it now. It was by this YouTuber, the Round Table, who says that, you know, their characters, while the characters aren't exactly the same character, they don't feel as diverse as like the Renaissance characters in, you know, like the classical, you know, movies that Disney had made in the past. And I agree, like after like sitting down and looking at it, like I agree, like um if it's not the characters that's the problem, right? Something about the movies that these heroines are in, like these female heroines are in, something feels off, something feels, samey, something about the movies are just um you know um catching or making people feel like there's a problem with it. And like what I said with this video, that pretty much with this, like, my thought was like, okay, it pretty much is like bad writing, right? There's some bad writing within the plot, and it was further confirmed that it's like a writing issue rather than a character issue is this video by this person. And essentially, what this person, like, I'll link all the videos in the description below so that you guys can watch them for yourself. But essentially, what this person is saying, that the 𝗟𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 problem isn't the cause but a symptom of another problem. And it essentially boils down to, again, bad writing, bad story, bad plot. It's not the characters that's the issue. Like, I didn't have personally find issue with the characters. It's more like the story in which they're placed in, what the story is making these characters do, like how they are reacting. That is the problem. And essentially what this person is saying is that Disney doesn't have an 𝗟𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 problem, they have a victim problem. And having weak villains or having weak, evil forces. Essentially not allowing these female heroines to be vulnerable, to confront their inner darkness, and stuff like that. And when I watched the video and had them explain it, I was like, that's the issue. That's the issue. Like that's why I've been having so many issues with a lot of these stories. It's because of the storytelling and the writing. And this person said that, they don't want, like, Disney, like, their ideas with these modern heroines is that they don't want them to have flaws. They want them to be perfect, to be a good role model for the young girlies. And I'm like, And when I thought about it more, a lot of the good stories that I love so much, they have good writing, they had good characters, but more importantly, they had good writing. And essentially that was the issue. So the 𝗟𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 problem is a symptom of Disney's poor writing choices. And when you look at some of the concept art or some of the concept plot points that were in some of these movies, like 𝗟𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, like Wish, so like some of these original concepts that were there that were cut will make they were more compelling, more interesting than the final product. And I think that is what the issue is. You don't see it a lot in male characters, right? Because yeah, they had flaws and they were outcasts, but the stories had good writing. And these characters were victims of, like, the villains or society or something like that. They had good writings. They were forced to confront their inner flaws, grow as people and stuff like that. But a lot of the movies that involving the female heroines, they don't make them confront their struggles. They don't make the villains, they're not writing their villains or these malevolent forces strong enough. They're not making the heroines react to them in a meaningful way, and it doesn't make them feel like they're growing as a character or that their victories feel like they're rewarded. So I will link this video in the description below. So essentially, Disney has just been writing the stories for these female heroines wrong. Like, they're just doing it badly. And, that's why people are having an issue with it. So it's not a double standard. It's essentially another symptom of, misogyny and everything like that, and, not really understanding that um what girls want, or that they can be flawed people and that they are multidimensional and stuff like that. So there is an unequal treatment between the male heroes and the female herons. So it's not a double standard. Like, the issue is like right there. So yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily, maybe there's some people that are being ableist when it comes to like the personalities in particular, but yeah, just like throwing out ableist, especially without really understanding why people are just having issues, and it's just labeling them, oh, they're just complaining for no reason, oh, they're just ableist, blah 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 blah. And even this comment, underneath this comment, it's saying it's mostly girls being called out because they keep representing them badly. They constantly keep making their female quirky and adorable, which is, of course, people are gonna call them out because they're tired of the same personality. And yeah, like, I understand, like, I don't mind um these quirky and adorable personalities. My issue is when they keep getting reused movie after movie after movie after movie. So yeah, like, there was one comment, so like, I'll post some screenshots of some other comments that I've seen, like, in regards to that, like, and also there was like someone else, like, yeah, so here's this comment: but no one calls characters like Luz or Star Butterfly adorable despite them being outcast correctly or not fitting in. It's because they're written like actual unique individuals that have a lot more going on. Yeah, so yeah, the female one's overdone. Yeah, so like, you can pause and like read this thread. But yeah, essentially it boils down to not exactly the character personalities, but just the poor writing in that regard. Like, why are the male heroes getting better writing? Like, why is the movies for these male heroes, like, why they have more writing, better writing in general than these recent female herons? Like, a lot of the time, these female herons, their stories, they're not written that great. So yeah. And also, there is this person who said, I don't mind a female protagonist who's an outsider, it doesn't relate to her classmates, but more of the problem of why she's an outsider. Because if the only reason she's an outcast is because she just has burgundy hair and wears boots, is pretty lazy writing. It feels like they wanted to make an outcast character without actually putting it to work to make her unique and weird, risking her being unlikable or unreliable. Yeah. So yeah, you could read the rest of this comment, but basically, I had a problem with that clip because of, what was said. Um, and there was another clip within this video that, I wanted to point out and just say that, how, like, say what was wrong. Um,
feels anyway. It does feel as if for a lot of people, Disney's this big to Harry Potter because it's and was an outside grievances and nothing. It doesn't feel like you need to activate her powers again and decides that the bracelet came off her wrist. Could that be something that's been keeping her powers in check? She loses it in her bed, sucked into a new need all that much time in the real world to sell the story. Maybe there's a little bit of narration at the start where Billy can mention she doesn't fit in. We need a bit of time for Billy to discover she has powers, and then of course she has to get expelled and have an extended conversation with her mum where they both lay out their grievances and nothing's resolved at all. Then we need a little bit more time for her to brood and try to activate her powers before she's sucked into the world. You can probably get that done within 15 to 20 minutes, and you wouldn't want to linger any longer than that. Pretty much all of their movies go for about an hour and 40 minutes, give or take 5. You wouldn't want to use up a huge chunk of the story on something that is essentially a prologue. You want to get into the proper narrative and head over to the magical world of Hex. I think now is as good a time as any to mention a lot of the discourse that has surrounded this part of the trailer. That Hexed is an extreme ripoff of the Owl House, but without the LGBT elements which Disney didn't think fit its branding. Now yes, I suppose there are some similarities with it, given they're a very similar genre. Magical girl taken to a magical land, has a difficult relationship with her mum, and was an outsider at school. As as we addressed before, the latter two are just common tropes in the media, and so we're left with magical girl, magical portal to a secret magical world. Okay, I get it. There are similarities, but the Owl House doesn't feature the mum all that much, right? I think this film will, simply based on the original synopsis, and that even when they changed it to Billy, they kept the parent-child dynamic front and center. Clearly the mum is going to come to the world to try to find her daughter, and I think it's probably going to be from this magical world and took her daughter away from it to hide in a mundane one long ago for a reason that's going to be explained within the movie. I think the only reason this discourse that it's an Owl House ripoff even exists is because that's what the online fans have decided.
Yeah, so this is like the clip isn't done, but I just wanted to point out my issue with what was said is because this person is pretty much saying that, you know, the Owl House fans, they're just whining for no reason. And I just think that's really disingenuous and just really unfair, because as this YouTuber, this video from this person said that, you know, like, look at the bigger picture, because when you look at, you know, the changes that have been taking place within this movie, it feels oddly similar, like suspiciously similar to the Owl House. And yeah, like I just don't really think that, you know, just brushing off like the valid critiques that the Owl House fans have been giving as just, oh, they're just complaining just to be complaining, blah 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 blah. It's just like, why can't you just listen to what why they're mad, why they're are suspicious of this film, instead of writing them off as just people complaining for no reason, when the reasons why they're mad are kind of valid.
Guarantee the comparisons it'll draw come release from casuals or general reviewers are to Harry Potter, because it's vastly more popular than either will ever be, and I guarantee it has overlap in genre and substance, even if just a little bit. Because here's the reality. The Owl House debuted in 2020. By this stage, very little is completely fresh, and thousands of years
Very little is completely fresh. No. No. It's still fresh in people's minds, especially in the way that it was gutted. And this person lays it all out pretty clearly and has given a more understanding approach as to why these fans are like angry. So I think that statement is false.
of human storytelling have seen most things occur on page or screen in one way or another. So yes, there is a similarity here, but like I said, you see that in so many different genres. Superheroes can often have very similar plot beats for their origins and background, and yet the story and characters end up feeling so different. For instance, Billionaire encounters traumatic situation that spurs them to use their wealth and ability to become a superhero. Along the way, they become a core member of a team of heroes dedicated to protecting the Earth from planetary threats. This can fit both Iron Man and Batman, and yet they couldn't feel more different. Alien comes to Earth and forms a family bond with Child. It fits both E.T. and Lilo and Stitch. Small talking mammal comes to live with family and makes all of their lives better. Stuart Little and Paddington. See how these small similarities can make something seem derivative on the surface and then become something far different the more you actually watch them?
Yeah, I do understand that there is a problem with people quickly writing off like media that's similar to another media as like rip off of this blah blah blah, and I do feel the annoyance when it comes to certain things that I'm enjoying of. Like, it was done with Magician's Quest and compared to Animal Crossing, and I'm still bitter about that because it's the reason why we only got one localization in the West and the rest haven't been translated to English. Like, I'm still bitter about that. They did the same comparing Ori and the Will of the Wisps to Hollow Knight, and that's completely different. Like, they're like, they've taken inspiration. Like, Ori and the Will of the Wisp has taken inspirations from Hollow Knight, but like, they're completely two separate things. Like, and then they did the same with Genshin Impact in terms of Breath of the Wild. Like, I do understand the annoyance, but at the same time, right? You know, like, I understand that things are allowed to like take inspirations, but like I said in like a previous video where I talked about Echoes of Australia in regards to Hades, you know, it comes to a point where the inspiration starts feeling suspicious, right? And as this YouTuber points out, in this video, that the changes that happened in regard to this movie was very suspicious. So they understood why the Owl House fans were upset. So to just say that, oh, they're just complaining, blah 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 blah, without hearing their side, like, come on. Come on.
At times, I think that people are dead set on wanting to complain, and so they drag out anything and everything to try to connect them and thus say they're unoriginal.
And here they continue to go on to just like misrepresent, like to paint the Owl House fans as like, paint them in a negative light. And I just don't think that's fair. Like, like I do encourage that you go and watch this video. I think this video did a really good job at like, being understanding to the people that were rightfully upset. Okay, so I thought there was more to show for the clip, but I think that's just all the like the two clips for right now. But yeah, like it's no surprise that people are going, like the Owl House fans are going to be mad because of like the suspicious changes. Like, to be honest, like it's not the first time that Disney has made some suspicious changes to one of their franchises, right? They did the same with Disney's Descendants in comparison, in regards to Ever After High. Like the similarities between those two franchises are just eerily similar, like suspiciously similar, right? And like the themes in regarding, the two franchises, not, um accepting the fate that was given to you, and like living according to like your own will, and like being your own person, and like changing fate and stuff like that, between like the two franchises, like eerily similar, like in the messages, like trying to be yourself, in the society that puts people in like these like stereotypical boxes, and like expect people to like the characters to behave like just like their parents. It's just like that kind of messaging. So it's not the first time that Disney has pulled this bullshit. And Ever After High fans were angry at Descendants for taking for suspicion, for like the elements that were suspicious. So yeah, like I like again, like this person was just giving their opinion, smarty pants, but I did take issue with like those two parts of the video, because I think it's not fair. Like this person is just saying statements but not really understanding why people are upset at certain things about Disney. So that's all the stuff that I had in regards to like that video, right? So now that I've talked about like the videos and stuff like that, right? Here's my thoughts on the trailer. So the Unicorn of War and a bunch of others were pretty much saying that this movie was like, it just was just giving genericism, like it was just generic, it was feeling generic. And like I said earlier about the Unicorn of War stating that in regards to Billy, like it seemed like they said that it feels like a boomer's interpretation of what like an alternative person is. And at least in terms of like the character, I'm afraid of that being the case. But again, this is only the trailer. We're only given so much information, and the trailer may have been a bad trailer and doesn't really reflect what's going on in the movie. So we won't really be able to definitely tell if this movie is, just trying to like, perpetuate certain stereotypes. We don't know yet. I'm just afraid of that happening. And at least for Billy's character, right? I don't feel the generic within her character. I'm not going to argue with people who do believe so. Like, I believe that they're valid in their opinions. If they feel like Billy's character is generic, then that's their feelings. But at least from my watching of the trailer, I didn't feel like that. I really liked her design so far. Um, and also the Unicorn of War also stated like the environment. Like, I don't know if they said that it was generic. I can't remember. Um, but I liked the environment. I liked it so far. Like, I liked the way that it looked, like the magical town. Like, I liked the way that it looked, right? But there was some concerns that about the trailer that I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. So, the first thing that I noticed, right, was the bracelet. Now, by itself, I wouldn't be like suspicious, but it's that in conjunction with the other elements that I noticed that I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this. I'm kind of scared. So the bracelet, from my looking at the screenshots of, like, I took screenshots of like what the bracelet looks like, and it looks like a macrame bracelet that has like a gem embedded in it. And normally, ever since I started looking at paganism and witchcraft and then Wicca, right, and then started, um, looking into that, and then like, my journey into practicing witchcraft, I normally see this in the metaphysical stores, in the spiritual stores, not the macrame itself. It's just the macrame plus the gem, like the gem being, like the macrame bracelet being tied, like incorporated, like the gem being incorporated in the macrame bracelet. Now, I tried doing some research to get like the origins of like macrame and stuff like that. So I will look at, like, I'll show this article, right? And I'll link this article in the description, right? So one thing about this article, right, is that it states that, the knots, right? The tradition is like an almost universal tradition that traces back to at least as far back as ancient Assyria. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Though most of the macrame we see today is an entirely knotted textile, often combed, often with a comb fringe at the end. Historical examples had a much more practical purpose. When finishing a garment or a woven textile, keeping the raw edges from fraying or unraveling is an important step in maintaining the longevity of the fiber. So, yeah. And then it also goes further, and then it states that the word macrame is derived from the Arabic word mikrama. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Which refers to a towel, veil, or ornamental fringe. During the 16th century, macrame techniques became popular in Italy under the name punta a grappo. I don't know if I pronounced that right. There's a lot of names that I can't pronounce. Meaning knotted points or knotted stitches. Lace makers spent painstaking hours bent over fine threads, creating delicate scenes in tiny knots. The much thicker corded macrame of the 1970s did not really emerge for another couple hundred years, when it became a popular nautical pastime. So, yeah, nautical style macrame enjoyed mid-popularity through the mid-20th century. Sailor style net had satin cord, eating bags, long silk shawls. Yeah, so, and then Okay, I'm like skipping a bit, but like the article's in the description, so I encourage you guys to read it. Then in the 1960s and 70s, the convergence of the counterculture movements brought the tradition into mainstream. Feminists and textile artists changed the binary of fine art and craft, using techniques like macrame to make tapestries and sculptural works of art composed of both classic and unconventional knots. Hippies and the back to land movement, enchanted by the tactility and simplicity of the craft, began knotting belts, plant hangers, tunics, headbands, and curtains. Okay, so yeah, after reading this, like, it's nice to like know the history of this, and I think it's pretty interesting. What I'm kind of I couldn't exactly, at least from this article, and then I looked up like the wiki, they mostly show the macrame as being mostly the knots. They don't show people embedding gems into them or other things into them and stuff like that. So I don't know if putting gems within macrame jewelry and stuff like that was just a thing that was happening since the dawn of its creation, or if it became popular during the 1960s or and 70s. So I don't know if this is a fairly recent thing or if this has been done for a long time. So if anybody has more accurate information, please let me know. But at least for, the macrame bracelets, and they have like the gems, the knots surrounding the gem and stuff like that. I see it a lot in the metaphysical stores and like the spirituality stuff. I could probably see if I can find. Yeah. So, as you can see from the pictures alone, right? A lot of the time, um, like I would see this stuff in the metaphysical stores, and I think I saw a picture of somebody like doing like a chakra thing with the macrame. Uh, yeah, like I saw a picture where this was done. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I really don't know if this has been like a thing that was been done a long time, or if this was just a fairly recent thing. So, like, I don't know. I don't know. But that I'm just stating my observations, and normally with this bracelet alone, like I said before, by itself, it doesn't really mean anything. But then like one of the other scenes, there's like a picture. I don't know if this is like a desk or doorway or something like that. But I saw this and I was like, the triple goddess symbol. And I was like, it was this picture that I was like, hold on, wait a damn minute. Um, and this symbol is used a lot in witchcraft, or at least the neo-pagan version. Like, witchcraft is in many different like cultures, and it takes many different forms, and it's different from person to person. But at least in terms of like neo-paganism, right? I've seen this quite a lot. So I was like, okay, all right, that's suspicious.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
So to just kind of like, I went and I tried researching, just to try to make sure to like fact check and make sure that my understanding of the triple goddess syndrome, the symbol, was like that I truly understood what it meant. And at least, at least from trying to do my research, I saw this first, and then I saw this other quote. But I'm gonna read this comment, right? So this user explains, so the triple moon goddess isn't an ancient pagan concept and isn't a literary or folklore archetype. It was invented almost wholesale by Robert Graves in the 1940s. There's no actual ancient goddess that perfectly fits his model of being a moon goddess with three distinct aspects that represent the stages of a woman's life and the phases of the moon, so there's nothing to appropriate. The triple moon is a modern symbol of a modern concept that isn't related to any particular identity or ethnicity. So, and then there's like a British Wiccan that replied to this and said, as a British traditional Wiccan in three different traditions, we do not work with the triple goddess or maiden mother crone. It is an OC concept from Graves that we introduce as a placeholder until initiation. While OP is likely to be mistaken for a Wiccan, this isn't really a Wiccan concept per se, nor a historic one. And then this person said, doesn't surprise me in the least bit that a man made it up because it defines women based on our usefulness to men. The maiden is attractive and desirable to them, the mother births and raises their heirs, and the crone is scary and dark because she's committed the cardinal sins of not being attractive, not able to get pregnant, and having her own mind and power. Really wish dudes would stop trying to define womanhood for us. So I was like, is this symbol rooted in misogyny and sexism? So I was like, because I'm glad I fact checked this, which is also a good reason as to why y'all need to do your research, because I was like, because I liked this symbol, I like the moon, and of course the triple goddess symbol, like I gravitated towards that. So if this symbol was like the origins was like rooted in misogyny, I was shook, and I was like kind of upset because was I just ignorantly, using a symbol that was rooted in misogyny? But then I saw this article by this individual, by Cassie. I can't pronounce their last name. So yeah, like another witch, and they wrote another article, right? So I'm gonna read bits and pieces from this article. Like I'll link this article in the description below. But it states that the most common meaning aside to the triple goddess, the triple goddess symbol is the maiden, mother, and crone. Each phase in the moon correlates to a phase of a woman's life. Here's a breakdown of each phase. The maiden represented by the new moon. The the maiden represented by the new moon. The new moon. Unless they're talking about the waxing question. Yeah, that might have been a mistype. It's like the waxing question. The maiden embodies purity, youth, creation, pleasure, naivety, and new beginnings. The maiden invites you to explore your spirituality, sensuality, and creativity. And then the mother, represented by the full moon. The mother embodies love, fertility, nourishment, responsibility, patience, gratitude, power, and self-care. The mother invites you to master giving and receiving love. And then the crone, represented by the fading, waiting moon. The crone embodies endings, wisdom, death, acceptance, and culmination. The crone invites you to accept that without death there is no birth. The mother, maiden, and crone is not the only way to honor or connect with the symbol. Here are some other meanings at the triple goddess, other meanings. So they list the other meanings, and then the origins. The article goes into like the origins, and it says many support the theory that the author Robert Graves birthed the origins of the triple goddess with his book, The White Goddess. It was after this that some believe the triple goddess as we know it today was born. Though there's evidence that supports this theory, many think documentation of the triple goddess can be found much earlier in our history. So there, at least according to this article, that perhaps there were traces of it before Graves, and that perhaps this wasn't rooted in misogyny and everything like that. So, yeah, and then they link this article I haven't read this article yet, but like they linked this article. I also linked this article in the description below. I haven't read it yet. I haven't because I just wanted to react to like Hexed and the whole situation. So it seems like, right? It seems like, if that was the case, that the triple goddess originated from possibly a misogynistic place, that at least from my time in the witchcraft community so far, it seems like people have embraced the symbol and use it as a way of empowerment and a positive thing, you know? So I'm not exactly sure which information is like, I don't know if this article is like presenting accurate information. So I don't exactly know what to believe in terms of that. So if there are other witches that want to give their opinion on the triple goddess symbol, like feel free to put it in like leave it in the comments with your thoughts on it. But like, because that's like the origins of like the symbol. And then there's also a Wikipedia article. I'll link that in the description below. But yeah, and I don't see like I said, I don't see this. I haven't started seeing this symbol anywhere else, and especially in other previous movies that have magic in them or have witches in them. I've never seen this symbol specifically, unless there was like some movies earlier to this one. Like I know there was like that Marvel movie where they like talked about witches, where well, not talked about witches, but like it featured witches. And I believe like the Hearth Witch had like done like a video like reacting to like the stuff that was in that movie. Well, not the movie, but like it was the thing was Marvel. I think it was a show. I can't remember. It's been a bit, but I know the Hearth Witch was like reacting to like a Marvel thing that like featured witches and stuff like that. I don't know if this was used in that show, and I know Marvel is like, this is acquired by this. Is it like owned by Disney? Let me just double check. Yeah, so Marvel is owned by Disney. Okay. So yeah, like Marvel is owned by Disney, but they're like still their separate studio and everything, right? So they did like, at least according to like Hearth Witch, I haven't watched the show myself, but like it seemed, at least according to Hearth Witch, it seems like they were doing the proper research in regards to like trying to portray witches and witchcraft as accurately as they can, which I welcome. Like we love good research and instead of media perpetuating bad stereotypes. Like I love that. But like, but this isn't like Marvel we're talking about or some other studio. This is Disney, and and that's the thing that I'm worried about. So moving on to like the third thing, right? The third thing. So we have the bracelet, we have the triple goddess symbol, right? The other thing that I looked at and I was like, was the scene where the mother was ripping apart the floorboards and there's like magical witchcraft things like underneath. Now I don't have a problem with like the scrolls that are in there, the potion bottles that are in there, and like the potion book or maybe like a that's in there. I mean, at least according to like the cover, it seemed like it might just be like a potion book, but then again, it could also be like a book of shadows, but it's not exactly obvious. The thing that got me was the bundle. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I've only seen this like type of item when I was first, getting into witchcraft, right? And I haven't seen this done, unless I haven't been paying attention to other sorts of media. I haven't seen this item particularly in the other magic movies that I watched. It's this bundle specifically. Now, thank God it doesn't look like, White Sage, because if it was White Sage, I would have started, long page, like long rant, long, bring up the video that I did about, White Sage and cultural appropriation. Like, it doesn't look like that, but like it's the art bundle, it's the Six of Simon, it's the NAs, the star NAs thingies, right? That that I'm like, okay, that it's like these, the bracelet, the herb bundle, the triple goddess symbol. That's what got me concerned, because I'm worried that, because when you take into, if you remember the comment that the Unicorn of War said about a boomer, trying to, like, a boomer's interpretation of what an alternative girly might be. That statement, in conjunction with the bracelet, the triple moon goddess, and the herb bundle, I'm worried of that being the case when this movie comes out, because I'm worried about the cultural flattening of witchcraft, because witchcraft isn't just macrame bracelets with crystals embedded in them. It isn't just the triple moon goddess. It isn't just the herb bundles. It's much more than that. And then there's this misconception that all alternative people that dress alternatively, that, goth emo people, there's this misconception that they might be into creepy stuff, or that they might be into, you know, witchcraft and those weird stuff. And that's not always the case. Just because you see somebody dressing up in a gothic way or in an alternative way, it doesn't mean that they're a witch. Because you can be a witch and you can wear whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't have to be, gothic. I mean, if you're a witch and you like the gothic style, then that's fine too. But it seems like people just associate the gothic, the emo witch, with being a witch. And that's just not true. It's just the stereotype, this negative stereotype. And people within the witchcraft community have been policing other people with how they dress, right? Like, I've also spoken about this in my previous video, talking about the issues that I've been having in the witchcraft community. And, you can be a witch and wear cutesy and be all pink and stuff like that. You can be a witch and wear oversized sweaters. You can be a witch and, I don't know, be in some type of tropical outfit. Like, just being a witch has nothing to do with what you wear, right? What you like, and I'm worried that about the research that might be going into this. Have they looked at, I'm worried about them, perpetuating the stereotypes. And I don't care about the characters. If the story is shit, then whatever. I kind of just don't care at this point. My issue is the cultural appropriation and the flattening and the perpetuating of certain stereotypes. Because witchcraft isn't just this. It can take many different forms, and it differs from culture to culture and from person to person. So if they're going to flatten all of that and just perpetuate the stereotypes, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. Because that's the only reason why I was interested in this, that, like, I've been paying attention to this trailer, because of these little things, like those 3 things that I've noticed that are that are making me concerned. Because because if this was another studio, I wouldn't be as worried. But this is coming from Disney themselves, and Disney has had a history of fucking over marginalized groups. They've, a lack of representation when it comes to autistic characters, their attempts at trademarking phrases or holidays that belong to specific cultures. They tried it with Day of the Dead, and they did it with Akuna Matata. And, like, it's just the constant, and then also add into the fact that they've been writing their modern female hairs like they've been writing the stories for their recent heroines like shitty because they're women. So Disney has just been fucking over the marginalized groups. It's been a problem since its inception, right? Since Disney's creation, it's been a problem. And I'm worried about it happening again when it comes to witchcraft and paganism because, again, this is Disney. And I'm worried about that taking place here. And we won't know until the movie comes out. Like, I just hoped that this isn't the case with the movie. But if it is, I'm going to be, coming in here and creating an hour or two long video, ranting about this movie if that does end up being the case, because I'm so sick and tired of the witchcraft, paganism, misrepresentation, and the disrespect that the culture and the religion, the cultures, the practice, and the religions that incorporate witchcraft. Like, I'm tired of them being misrepresented and demonized simply because they're not Christian. So, yeah, like, that's my issue with the trailer. That's my concerns with the trailer. It's mostly about the witchcraft elements that they've included, and I'm worried about that. So, yeah, honestly, like, you know, have your opinions. Like, it's fine that you have your own opinions about the trainer. Everybody is allowed to have their own opinions. But, like, my issues, like, I guess the main issue that I've been trying to get at throughout this video is people dismissing other people's opinions about this movie and invalidating their feelings when their feelings are valid, and also my issues about culture flattening, cultural appropriation. Like, I'm just really that's my main concerns, like, surrounding the discourse and surrounding the trailer itself. So again, like, I encourage you guys to watch like the videos that I mentioned, and also take a look at the sources, like the stuff that I've linked, the articles that I linked in the description. So yeah, I hope that the story for this movie is good. It would be nice if it was, because I like magical things. I like witches. I like fairies. I like all the whimsy, all the magical. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the movie and the trailer. Or the trailer for the movie rather. I encourage you guys to, like, share your thoughts, but like I said, be respectful. Have an open mind. Be respectful of other people's opinions. Um, but yeah, if you liked the video, and you like or if you like the other videos that I've made, I do have and want more whimsiness and stuff like that, I do have a website, my Neo City's website, and I'll link that in the description. I also have Buy Me a Coffee if you want to support me that way too. But that's not obligatory. You don't have to, like, support me on my Buy Me a Coffee if you don't want to. I understand that people are struggling with money right now. So yeah, I'm gonna go, and I'm going to um continue on with trying to get my other tasks done. So I hope you have a good rest of your day slash night slash afternoon, wherever you guys are in the world, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.